Hi guys, my name is Anna and I watched a documentary last night and I was so shook by it that I just have to talk about it and share it with you. So we're talking about the Tinder Swindler and it released on Netflix on February the 2nd, so a few days ago. It has a runtime of just under 2 hours, but it's very compact, like no minute is wasted. And I was so engaged with every single minute of this documentary because it's just the craziest story. So many people these days use Tinder to meet and date new people, right? But you never quite know if the person that you're meeting really is the person that they say they are. And this particular man went by the name of Simon Leviev, among countless other names. And he is probably the biggest con man there will ever be on Tinder. So the documentary starts off with an interview with a Norwegian woman called Cecilia, who's living in London, and she's on Tinder and she's swiping and she comes across this profile, and that's Simon. And it's pretty evident from his pictures that he lives a very lavish lifestyle. He's traveled all over the world. He goes on private jets. He has very expensive cars. So she swiped right, they matched, and he messages her straight away. He says, "I'm leaving London tomorrow morning, but do you want to come and meet me for a coffee right now?" And then he sends her his location, which is the 5-star Four Seasons Hotel in London. And so she goes and she meets him. They have a coffee and he tells her that he is the CEO of a diamond company, LLD Diamonds. And his dad is the King of Diamonds, and therefore that makes him the Prince of Diamonds. And then obviously Cecilia, she's like, who the hell is this guy? Oh my god, he's like a billionaire. And he tells her that due to his business, he barely gets to stay in one place for too long. And he invites her to accompany him on their trip to Bulgaria the next morning. So he literally asks her for her passport details on the first date, in the first hour. And she agrees. She gives him her passport details. She goes home, packs her stuff, and a Rolls Royce comes to pick her up and take her to the airport. She says in the interview, like, she thought it was like a movie. So she basically has the most insane first date. She joins him on his private jet to Bulgaria, and they check into a very fancy hotel once they land. She has like a magical time with him, and then she comes back to London. The first red flag is, I don't think billionaires are going to be using Tinder to meet people. Do you guys think so? Billionaires don't have to be on Tinder to look for people to date. And they're most likely going to want to date people within their own circle. Tinder is for the peasants. Billionaires are not going to be on Tinder. And also, to go on a private jet flight with a stranger you literally just met, she could have been drugged and like sex trafficked. He could have murdered her. But when you just let your imagination and excitement get in the way, this is what happens. And you can tell from the things that Cecilia says in her interviews that she has like a very fairy tale, Hollywood romance fantasy of what love and relationships are. So she is like the perfect candidate to fall for this kind of scam. She's already got so much hate. I don't want to judge her. She's a victim. I personally can't see myself falling for this kind of scam. But there's a lesson to be learned from all of this. So from then on, she can't see him regularly all the time because he's always going off to a new country in Europe. But he sends her so many messages, voice notes, selfies a day, constantly checking in. He even takes a surprise flight to Oslo, where she was staying. And he's like, I'm here, let's meet. Sends her insane bouquets of flowers, gifts, and tells her things like, I want to have a future with you. I want to have babies with you. She's like fallen head over heels in love with him, and he's asked her to be his girlfriend, so they're official. And then after about a month of this, he starts mentioning things about the fact that he has enemies because he's in the diamond business, and he says there are people who want to kill me, assassinate me. And he says due to these kind of security concerns, he can no longer use his credit cards because they are trackable. He asks Cecilia to send him an American Express card under her name. And she does because she fears for his safety and she is now his girlfriend and she cares about him. So she sends it and he maxes the card out and he encourages her to get the limit increased. And gradually he asks her to take loans out for him. And she does. She ends up taking out 10 bloody loans. I was like, oh my god, what are you doing? So how he would go about romancing these women and convincing them that he was a billionaire, he would show them his lavish lifestyle for a month. And he was funding all of that through his many other victims. So they would absolutely believe that if they lend him money, he would have the means to pay them back. So when they first start lending him money, and it's usually a small amount, then he would pay them back, but way more than they had lent him. So they now feel now they're indebted to him. He was very, very smart and intelligent and he knew how to do this. And he would also make these women believe that his life was in danger. He would send pictures and videos of him and his bodyguard in an ambulance with like blood all over them. And then he would say, we just got attacked. We could have almost just been killed. And the women are obviously so worried about him. And he uses that fear to convince them that they need to send him cash because he needs to only use cash so it can't be traced at all. And then they do because they really feel like that he's going to die if they don't. Cecilia, she ended up in $200,000 in debt, and she is still paying this back to this day. She was like crying in her interview that she felt she was drowning because the interest rates was so high. She was never going to get out of this. And she said at one point she was driving on the road and she saw a truck coming on the other side, and she legitimately considered just like driving into it just to end her misery right then and there. And after she experienced that, she checked herself into a psych ward because she was really scared that she was going to kill herself. And she just realized that she had been cheated romantically and financially by this guy. And obviously, Cecilia was not the only woman that Simon was seeing. He was a professional, smooth criminal. He's been doing this for years already. He would use the money that he got from one woman to use it on the next trip, to spend it on the next woman, and then the cycle just continues like this. Later on, you find out from interviews with the other women that he was sending literally the exact same messages, same selfies, all the I love yous, I miss yous. He was saying the exact same things. I honestly have to give props to the guy because it is not easy maintaining such intense relationships with so many people. That would just physically and emotionally drain me out. There are two other women that speak in the documentary, and their names are Panilla and Eileen. Cecilia and Panilla had joined forces, and they ended up going to the media and they spoke out together and tried to expose the truth about who this guy was. So their story starts going viral. His face is plastered all over the newspapers, all online. So he's running out of options. And Eileen, who is a woman from Amsterdam, and she was his girlfriend of many at the time, and she explains that during this time he was super anxious and nervous because he didn't have anyone to fall back on apart from her. And she explains about this part where they go to a plastic surgeon in Amsterdam. He says to the doctor, I want my cheekbone, my nose, my chin, everything done. I want it changed. And the doctor says, no, because only criminals would want this. Eileen's like, he is a bloody criminal. But she was pretending that she didn't know anything. She was smart because she wanted to help with the investigation. Even though she hated him, she just pretended that everything was fine. By this point, he had no women that he could go to and ask for money. So he was literally eating leftover food in the shopping malls and sleeping in one-star hostels. And he was calling himself the homeless king. And Eileen in the interview, she was like, cry me a river. And I was like, yes. And this guy allegedly swindled an estimated $10 million from all of his victims from 2017 to 19 alone. Eventually, he was caught and he was sent to prison in Israel because that's where he's from. And he was sent to prison for 15 months, which is really short. $10 million? And then he ended up getting out after only 5. Currently aged 31, he lives as a free man in Israel, and he actually has an Instagram account and he's showing off his lavish lifestyle again. I don't know how he's funding his lifestyle, but you can see on his Instagram he has expensive cars, going designer shopping, and he's selling merch and trying to offer business coaching. Where is the justice? $10 million is no joke. The 3 women in the documentary are still all paying off their debt. The money that he used to just go and party and spend it on pointless crap. I was left like shocked and fuming by the end of this documentary, but it is a seriously good watch. The storytelling is done really well and it keeps you glued to the screen the whole time. So guys, there are lessons to be learned here. No matter how nice he seems, do not ever go on a first date with someone that you just met and go on a flight with them, because you can get yourself killed if you do that. Neither should you be sending your passport photos to them on the first date. And it doesn't matter if you're female or male because it happens to both sexes. If you're really lonely and vulnerable, just remember that there will be people out there who will try to manipulate you and then love bomb you with affection, and then eventually they will get you to do what they want. And only loan money that you have. Do not take out loans for other people. Don't get into debt. And definitely do not take out 10 loans. Oh my god, poor lady. I was getting stressed listening to her talk about it. But I personally believe that karma is real and he will get his punishment in some way or another. I mean, I want to believe that. For my rating of this documentary, just for the pure entertainment factor, Like, I just have to give it a 10 because there was no parts where I felt like I was getting bored. I was completely engaged the whole time. And the story is just crazy. It's crazy. So go watch it, guys. Stay smart, stay safe, and look out for yourselves. See you in the next one.